Well, hello, everybody. Larry Young here again with another segment of OLaMan Living Life with Purity. And in this segment, Alex Fiato is in here with me. Say hello, Alex.
How are you?
And we want to go back and continue a discussion on St. Joseph. And we had some segments, several segments back. You may want to go back and refer to those first if you're new to the channel here. But we're doing a deep dive on St. Joseph and his influence on the church, on Jesus and Jesus' public life, and how much of what Jesus professed in his public life were lessons that were taught to him by his foster father, that being St. Joseph.
Sure, because he was his foster father, and he had, our Lord was learning like a human being would learn.
Sure, he was a child too.
He was a child.
Although
he was
God,
he would suspend that. He would suspend the God thing, and his humanity was fully human. So there's times he would.
So he was still a kid.
Yeah, he was still a kid. He was still a kid, even though you knew he was a second person of the Holy Trinity.
Well, two people knew that.
Right.
Can you imagine living for 30 years and only two people know?
No, it's unbelievable.
And one of them dies before this, so it's just your mom?
It's unbelievable, yeah.
I mean, what a weight.
It's profound.
I mean, people don't realize the weight that St. Joseph carried.
Absolutely.
All that time.
Sure.
What a tremendous
story.
Not having children myself, I think about it. I think of the weight when I just babysit someone's kids.
Sure.
That responsibility.
Yeah.
And that opportunity, because I gotta ruin them.
Well, no, Abby, you're a big kid at heart. I mean, you're a baseball guy, and
I got to play with the kids in ways their parents don't.
You really, they uplift you when you see what's in their eyes, and especially as a coach or sports wise, because the kids grow during those things.
Yeah,
that's formation.
Yeah, those teaching moments when you see when the kid finally gets it, and that device finally hits, and so I can see why teachers love teaching. But I loved coaching when I'd have a kid that couldn't, quite meet the need. Then all of a sudden, everything clicks.
He gets it, yeah. Right.
And it's like, he's like, well, why wasn't I doing this all along? I said, well, you weren't listening to me.
That's right.
And so, but I get that. I love ruining other people's kids.
Well, there were times that St. Joseph was unable to provide for the Holy Family in terms of food or shelter.
Times get tough. Yeah.
Times get tough. And I'd like to read this because I think it's apropos.
You read that. I'm going to sneak one of these.
Wonderful cookies. So Joseph at this time is unable to provide. So Joseph found it necessary at this time to ask God to condescend to supply him with some of the needed victuals. Oh my Lord, he says, and he prayed, send me provisions. I do not ask for my own self, for I do not deserve anything, but I ask for the sake of my holy spouse, so that I can give her the physical nourishment she requires. God heard his plea, and he provided for them either through the medium of creatures or through the hands of angels. Joseph presently found their table laden with bread and fruits and other necessary things in accordance with Mary's requirements. He acknowledged the gifts as a token of the bounty of God, and he expressed his deep gratitude for them. Mother Mary remarked to him, God loves poverty very much, and he has voluntarily chosen it for himself. He wishes to be born poor and to live in poverty, and you shall see all this come to pass in the course of his life. She further said, take notice that the incarnate God has chosen a poor woman to be his mother. You may be sure that if he had wished to live amid riches and comforts, he would have chosen for himself a mother who was exceedingly wealthy and prosperous. Let us praise and thank God that he, the possessor of all wealth, the infinite being, has condescended to choose poverty in order that he might instruct the world concerning it. We owe our present happy lot largely to our poverty. And if we were not poor, who knows if so great a happiness would have been apportioned to us. It's like you were saying, to be with Jesus. 9 months in the womb of the Blessed Mother, and then 33 years. Mm-hmm. Joseph was a little bit less because he died before.
Right, before he entered public
Can
life.
you imagine? And like you said, they were the only two that knew it.
Dirty little secret, wasn't it? But I think it's amazing how she finds this happiness and contentment in the poverty, because what you grasp at that point, or you find when you're poor and you don't have anything, you find this satisfaction and happiness with the simplest of things.
Sure. You're not worried about what to do with your $34 million.
Well, or somebody going to take it, and you're realizing that, I don't have anything, but there's nothing that I really want more than just to be happy and safe and to eat, the basics. And Joseph starts off there praying for provisions, because they're hungry.
That's
and
right.
He's concerned.
Very hungry.
Right.
Yeah.
And so he's praying because, the animals aren't coming or whatever, you can't get the food, whatever is going on, a downturn, maybe somebody didn't pay him for a job or whatever. I mean,
that happened. Yeah, somebody would not pay him for a job.
Well, of course, it happens. That's what happens when you're a contractor. I mean, I've got the Diocese of Fort Wayne South Bend still owes me $30,000 from a deal I did with them back when Bishop Darcy, who said he didn't know anything about the devotion, had his youth ministry program at the property and had me put 400 people up for a weekend. And
they didn't pay you?
No, they didn't pay me.
It's so much for his poverty.
He says, "Oh, Larry, it's for the Catholic Church. You got to be doing this stuff." I said, "No, you got to pay your bills."
This is the same guy that denies you.
Right. And then he goes on worldwide television and says he doesn't know anything about it after he had given at least 5 homilies in the place talking about Our Lady of America. I mean, what a liar!
Yeah,
This is what we're dealing with these folks.
Jesus, God help us.
You're saying my prayer out loud here, but Jesus, God help us all. But I think it's just amazing what Saint Joseph went through, and the more you're bringing up here about the aspects of poverty, and I've been talking about how much better we'd be if our bishops and priests and cardinals, well, I don't want them to be impoverished, but I don't want them to be amassing millions of dollars.
It's completely opposite.
Because it's a total distraction, to their mission. Be a priest or not.
And how they get their money, folks. When you got the mafia laundering money.
And we're not kidding. It is the mafia.
It's huge. It's the Italian mafia. It's out of Sicily.
And it's not just them, but it's also like the globalists.
That's right. They're grabbing money from the globalists, child trafficking. It's the same thing when you said that the Catholic charities that we brought all these kids into the country. Yeah, where are they? Where are they placed? Oh, well, we don't know. We just brought them in. You just trafficked in kids into the country, and they paid them for it, didn't they?
Yeah, they made $9 billion.
So, if I say the word asshole, please don't get upset.
Oh, I got death threats already. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, blame him because. Yeah. But I mean, to be offended, I'd be offended by that, folks. Between our ears, we got a brain. Use the brain.
Well, everyone should be offended that they used the Catholic brand to do this,
right,
and to harm you and other Americans. That unwittingly. I'm all for Catholic charities going out and feeding people.
They used to be extremely good with.
I used to raise money for them.
Right.
I got a story for you about this Judge Dugan up in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Who did her thing with hiding the gang member and
were they arrested her?
Yeah, I had a run-in with her back in.
You did?
Yeah, I think it was 2008 or 2009. She used to be head of Catholic Charities for Southeast Wisconsin.
That's weird. Yeah. That's wild.
And I did a fundraiser for him. I was an auctioneer. And so I slipped across the line into Kenosha, Wisconsin, and we were doing this fundraiser auction. And the auction was supposed to start promptly at 7:30. Everyone comes in, they get their rubber chicken and the vegetables and all like that at the banquet. And they wanted to get at least 2 drinks into everybody before we started the auction. This was their goal. Get them a little jazzy, you know.
So you had bring your own. We're going to get lick it up.
No, they had plenty of wine. It was,
did they? Okay.
they had the best box wine you could buy. So Franzia.
Oh, for sure. I know it well.
They had both kinds.
Both.
So they had red and the white, or the rosé. But it was nearing 7:30, and everyone's getting anxious, for the auction to start. And I had about maybe as many as 100 items to sell. And
Which is not a lot for you as an auction.
Well, it was going to be about an hour and a half long show. Hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes to do this, because I wasn't going to go, speed through it, but I was trying to, make light of things. I had my cheat sheet there with all the particular names of people might be interested, whether they wanted to buy the boat or somebody wanted to buy, the snow skis or something like that. And the people who were setting things up would give me a cheat sheet as to what person might be interested in that, and I should, mock them a little bit, make fun of them about this, that, or the other. Maybe you won't break your legs with these, like you did. Whatever it was.
Right.
Somebody had a broken leg before but I just have my cheat sheet there to try to make fun of.
Sure, get it going, get it moving.
Be the entertainment, because I don't know these people. So, but I'm showing up and I'm trying to, riff through this thing. So I've got the microphone, and I'm supposed to be emceeing this event.
Yeah.
And then they say, well, we would like Miss Dugan to come up and say a few words and thank everybody. She's supposed to come up there for about 2 minutes.
Yeah, and say something.
Yeah.
Cheerleader.
Hey, come on, everybody,
rah,
get your pens out and do all this.
Yeah.
Well, she goes on to some public statement she starts making. And she's going on and going on. 10 minutes go by. 15 minutes go by. And she's killing the room. The room is about
going to sleep quickly.
They're ready to walk away, because they stopped pouring wine. And so people are getting a little bit anxious.
Right.
So
they want to get right.
Yeah, and so you start hearing the murmuring going on at the tables, table talk. And then one of the other organizers comes up to me and says,
they got to give you a cane. Remember they used to.
Yeah, well, I didn't have that. Here was a woman who's supposed to be the head of the whole thing for the southeast region of Wisconsin. It was her, and I remember she wasn't as heavy as she is today, but I remember. And so I walked up to her, and I'm standing there next to her. She says, "Can I help you?" I said, "Yes." I said, "By the way," I need the microphone because
we're not going to use it anymore.
Yeah, we were supposed to start the auction 15 minutes ago. You got anything to say? If you could hurry up,
Right. Did she get the message?
Oh, she didn't like it at all.
Too bad.
So she gave me a cold stare, and I just said, "Yeah, my microphone."
Yeah, self-important. This is the lady. The guy went out the back door, right?
Right.
And they arrested her. She had that shit-eating grin on her face.
Did she? I didn't see.
However, when they processed her and they were taking her mugshot, that grin was wiped off her face.
Oh.
And she looked haggard.
Oh,
well, honey, you're under arrest. It took a felony.
Yeah, well, I think the reality probably set in, but she was not happy with me, and she said,
"I can see it."
I said, "Yes, it's my microphone."
Hey, listen, for him to have met with this lady that's in the news is it's not by chance. It has to be some kind of a divine.
Yeah, but I had to win the room back.
No, you have to. You're not here to
because I'm about to start asking these people for money. And so I had to win the room back.
Right.
And so I came in and stopped her on this, I don't know, it was like a stump speech. But she was just going on and on like I am here. But it was a totally hilarious night. But I remember her, and somebody remembered, says, that was the gal, that judge was the gal that was the head of Southeast Wisconsin. Remember the one that you kicked off the auction block?
Wow.
And I said, I didn't really kick her off the auction block.
But it's priceless. It also shows her personality. Very important lady.
Yeah.
It's about her, not about the auction. No, honey, it's about the auction. It ain't about you.
Well, we still raised over 6 figures that night, so it was a good night. Yeah, it was a good time. In spite
I think she's having a good time right now.
Well, I don't care what time she's having. She didn't impress me much then. I'm not impressed now.
Even now. Yeah.
But I just thought it was kind of funny, so I dropped that in there. But that was about raising money to feed people.
Yes.
Okay, and we were taking care of money at that time for setting up additional provisions for soup kitchens and
So
things like
it was
that.
legitimate.
Right, and
good-
this is the kind of stuff I got behind, because even then, if they wanted to show me a space where they wanted to put in a food service system, with coolers and things like that, me being an auctioneer, I had access to going out and finding things that might be purchased at a good price. And so I did a lot of that with helping set things up and having to lay out how these kitchens would go. And so that's where a lot of my construction design and implementation things came in. But
make it happen.
And I was really good at getting people that would be maybe even donating stuff to come and donating their engineering and help to get the work done.
To feed the poor.
Right, because
That's
this is all,
we can get behind that.
this wasn't for me, this wasn't making
No,
money,
you're very
this
much
was
right.
taking care of our community.
And-
And that was what we were doing, was taking care of our community
Yeah.
and safeguarding it,
Right.
not worrying about what was happening down in Bolivia and other places like
Yeah,
that. If that was, we would go there and help them.
Yeah, you're the one that made me aware that Catholic Charities was part of the running children
Through the NGOs.
and not being supervised, and then
Right.
getting paid and think that they're actually doing something for humanity,
Right,
and they haven't done anything.
And then
they don't
telling
even know where
Con-
these kids went.
right. Now they tell Congress to go pound sand, they're not going to be audited. So they think that they're operating under the auspices of the Vatican, that they're a sovereign and you can't touch us.
I don't think they are. I don't think that are they?
They're not. But this is the hubris that they work with. They think that they're so above the discussion that they don't need to answer to these
There we
things.
go.
Well, and
Power and money. There
power
it is
and
again.
money, right? This is the new dope of this situation right now is, and that's whenever you got a situation that's going on. And I was talking about in my podcast about smoke here earlier, is you got to follow the money, because the money is attached to the power.
Right.
And when you have all this going on and you got all these cardinals, making millions and millions and millions of dollars,
Right.
and
Doing
not
nothing.
reporting anything,
Doing nothing.
well, they're putting their hand out,
Right.
and something always gets received into it. And it's an old game that is still being played today, but it's all done behind the scenes, and the faithful are the ones that pay for it all the time, because these guys are out amassing all these fortunes, but when they get called to the mat for things that they did that were wrong, and then they got to pay up, who has to pay them out? It's you, me, and the other guy.
Sure, no, it's the people. That's the money from the people.
Because where does the church come up with $5 billion?
And it's the same thing with our government. When it crashed in 2008, our small business had to pay. We paid through a federal unemployment, and we were small potatoes, but it went from $6 a month to like $600 a year. So, but the point is that you're right. It's always the working class people that pay for it.
Right. We pay for the sins of our leaders.
If this cardinal, I don't know what Dolan's worth. If he's worth $50 million, he's living in if he's worth $50 million, where do you think it came from? Us.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's given away so much money. He had so much problem in Milwaukee, but he's not alone. That's just one situation.
They're all doing it.
Well, enough of them are doing it that it's a problem. I don't think that everyone in the church is bad or has this problem, but enough of them do that it is a problem.
Okay.
And it needs to be dealt with, and it needs to be dealt with correctly, because otherwise, to do otherwise is just, acting out a lie and a series of lies, and it's hurting people.
Well, it says somebody once said that if there's something seriously wrong and there's evil in the world, if good men do nothing,
Mm-hmm.
you perpetuate it.
Right, evil prevails.
So somebody has to sacrifice along the line in terms of the spiritual needs of people, as opposed to the monetary taking and the power that one yields. But it's so seductive, and humanity seems to be drawn to power and money to such
It's sexy.
Is it?
Because they make it sexy. Yeah, it's attractive. And it's just, it's like the whole thing with the red carpet. The people dressing up, their fancy clothes and all like that.
When they
and
go
everyone
to-
goes, "Oh, whoa, well, I just love him," and all like that. Well, why do you love him? You don't even know him.
Right.
It's like loving a politician.
You don't know
the
the guy,
politician
the
doesn't
gal.
care about you.
Right.
They don't know you.
Right.
And it's a lot of times with, even down to like our priests in our parishes, they recognize you, but they don't know you.
Right.
Because they don't invest themselves into the parishioners to
They
go
don't-
and
they-
visit
no, you're right.
in their homes.
You're right.
They've given up on the skills. They've traded it off for another set that they were trained to do.
Right.
And that was to run these businesses.
No, you're right, Larry. Brother Leonard Saransky was a senior scientist for NASA, and he put he built a mass spectrometer and did it on the weekend for like $1.97 in terms of material, and he was able to downsize the mass spectrometer and had $90 million earmarked for it, and they wanted to kill him because he solved the problem. What are you going to do with this $90 million that we were supposed to spend?
Yeah.
But it's that same thing, this insidious sense of you got good people doing good things, you become ostracized for it. I mean, they don't want to hear it. They don't want to know. I mean, you think they'd want to help you with the mission that's been given to you.
Mm-hmm.
And you reached out to them. Not only did they not want to help you, they took from you. Or they lied about you. You're thinking, this is crazy, Lord. This how it works?
Or they would take from you and say, "Well, I'm going to give it all back and more," and then nothing ever happened.
Well, he's gone now, Darcy. He's not going to give
Well, Darcy, he just lied on top of lies. I scared him because I had a powder keg of a situation there with this apparition in Rome City,
Right.
in the middle of his diocese, and it's like the Monsignor from Lourdes when they came over to visit. The shrine at Lourdes is run by a commission of
that was an interesting
Monsignor priests.
That was an interesting visit for you.
Right. Well, he came and he visited and he took me to side. And he said, "Larry," he says, I gotta tell you something." He says, "You're up against a rock on this." He says, "Don't expect your bishop to be helpful."
Wow.
And I said, "Well, why is that?" He says, "No bishop wants a Blessed Mother in their backyard.
Wow.
It's too much work." And he says they really don't want to see these things happening. So we just have to kind of let these things kind of go. And he says, but no bishop wants a Blessed Mother in their backyard. It's just too much work.
Did he come to dialogue with you about the intricacies of a apparition site, or
and how to run one and what to expect and things like that. And that's what I was looking for. I said, if the world's going to be coming here, what am I supposed to do?
Right. I'm sure.
I don't go to these places.
Right.
I know a lot of people flock to them. I have no interest in going to those places.
Yeah.
I had my hands full with where I was at. I couldn't feel any better or stronger, any more inclination than what I was already getting.
Correct.
Going to some place like Lourdes or Fatima wasn't
No. This was the mother lode of all apparition sites. In fact, it would be coming to you that you would have to focus on this. That's why you were asked to accept the position that you're in.
Well, my tit was in a ringer here.
No one
was helping me. And
bigger than Fatima and Lourdes are. Like, said, "Gee, Lord, Our Lady, what does our Lord have in mind for this?"
And I didn't know, but I think that really wasn't, in the end, I don't know if that was really my responsibility, but I think
I think you hit the nail on the head. When that went to a federal court, if you didn't win, they would have demolished the apparition, and it would not have been accepted, like you said.
Oh, no.
It'd have been politically charged, and it'd have been split, and to try to mend that would have been nothing.
Oh, there would have been nothing to mend because there would have been the taint of money.
Yeah.
See, that's the funny thing,
Right.
is when it's about the people who are organizing and bringing it to light, if they even try to get compensated for their expenses and
Right.
things like that, that is the taint of money that the church puts upon it. But as soon as the church has it, well, we're going to sell balloons. We're going to sell gift cards.
absolutely.
We're going to sell statues. We're going to sell all this stuff. We're going to sell memberships. They got all these plans for fundraising.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
More money coming in.
Yeah,
right.
and then we're gonna issue bonds, and all I guess we'll have you all the money you need. Oh, don't worry about this. But up until then, it's like no.
You're on your own.
But as soon as they can get in, they can find a way to monetize it. Now you become a partner with them, and it's like, I don't know if you want to be a partner.
No, you don't. At that point, you're thinking, Lord, I've had enough. You know what I mean?
say,
Good
let
luck.
me out.
Right, I'm out.
Yeah.
To go fishing or something, but none of this business. It's crazy. Well, poverty already said it. I mean, these people even looked at, looked at Dolan. He looked so haggard. He looked haggard as he was walking. Well, you should look haggard. You're stealing from the people. You're living in opulence. Our Lord didn't live in opulence. You know that. If I know that, you know that. You're the big
And he was
one.
happy.
And
Mary said they were happy.
And they were happy.
Right.
And she said, if we weren't poor, we might have missed out on all this. Yeah, 30 years with Jesus, 33 years. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Can you imagine what there's probably got more stories they're going to tell us than that.
Well, I always think about writing works of fiction about teenage Jesus and stuff like that.
Yeah,
just like when people say, "Oh, you're being,"
No, because Jesus had to feel the temptations. He had to feel what it was like to be
was a
an
kid.
adult. Sure. Otherwise, why become man if you're just trumping, using the trump card? I'm God. No, I'm little Jesus. You know? That's why they had to run for their lives.
Can you imagine playing euchre with Jesus and he's got a handful of trump cards?
Are you sure you didn't? Are you sure you didn't do something? No, I didn't do anything different.
all his hand is red aces,
Yeah. Extra ones, would you like one?
Because I'm going to beat you anyway.
Anyways. No, I mean we don't know half the story. It's profound. But I'm going to need a couple minutes here to go through my book on different things about Saint Joseph, and I'd like to when we do our next segment that we
okay, so we want to wrap
this. I need a little bit of time.
Well, let's wrap this one up, and then we'll come back and we'll start a new one. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. We love you. We'll be back.